Good evening, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third round of the season here at Gavra Weekend League Tier 2. We're here at China, and we have a fascinating pair of races that are going to be upcoming very shortly. Drivers out on circuit already in the middle of qualifying. There's a couple of drivers are just finding their way around the track at the moment, still getting used to the conditions in terms of it's the first time that drivers have been around China for quite some time on the F1 game, and let's see how they all do, because tonight's a very special event. Of course, it's the middle of the season. We're at the fifth round, technically speaking, for races 5 and 6 tonight, and we have the sprint event and the 50% race, so very different from the usual sort of format that we have in Gavra Racing on the Sundays, but we'll see how the drive on. For those that are new to the channel, please make sure you do give us a follow on Twitch or a subscription on YouTube. It'd be great either way. We're looking forward to it. But I'm Jack TM53, as always, the commentator for the Weekend League, and the drivers who've set a lap time: Italy Toy TA, currently provisionally pole on a 133.3. Jos Trek Voss 69420 is second on a 133.6. And Ben Roberts rounds out the top three on a 33.9. Those are the only three drivers who have set a lap time in the 1-minute 33s. Looking at the championship standings, obviously we've got to discuss those because it's really important for context. Ben Roberts leads the way in the championship. He had a wonderful set of races last week at Brazil where he won both of them around Interlagos, and as a result he is on 80 points in the Drivers' Championship. You've got Jos Trek in second, joint second with Ansar on 51 points. So Ben Roberts has a 29-point gap over everybody else. Il Cecco is fourth on 48 points with Italy Toy TA in fifth on 45, and Spanel 57 is sixth on 40 points. And then the rest of the drivers have all got a little bit of a gap back from the top six, which is Sachetto and JMB Surreal, the two AlphaTauri teammates, on 19 points to 7th and 8th. Mello Bello is 9th on 12, and the McLaren and Roby HT is 10th on 10 points. For the constructors, just for the top 5, Scuderia Ferrari lead the way on 81, 80 of those points coming courtesy of Ben Roberts. Haas are second on 59, with Mercedes third on 58. Aston Martin are fourth on 51, and Williams are fifth on 46 points. So that is the current condition of the drivers' standings, and everyone just trying to get a little bit of space out on track at the moment. A couple of drivers yet to set a lap time include Jossing, Mikey, FRV, Ricky, and Il Cecco. JMB Surreal is out of the session. Also going to be joined shortly in the commentary box by GRL Viper, driver who's been competing in Gavra for some time. He was Zexify last season, for those who are unaware, but he'll be joining us shortly. I'm watching Mikey RK13 at the moment in 14th position. He's out on circuit looking to improve. He's scored points this season, has Mikey, but he's looking for a bit more consistency. He didn't have the best of races last time out of Brazil. He struggled in the second race, but he finished 11th in the first race, close to points, but not quite there. And he needs to try and support his teammate Spanel just a little bit more in the championship if he can, ideally. But he is going to set his first flying lap of the session. He's just coming around the final corner, turn 16. DRS wide open. Let's see what that lap time is. Put him 12th for the time being, a 1:35.4. More time to come from the Alfa Romeo. Watching other drivers out on circuit currently. Obviously the stream's just picked up Ben Roberts going provisionally pole in a 1:32.9, so he's 4 tenths clear currently. A couple of drivers just getting themselves back into the pits at the moment. Luffy 1691's on a lap at the moment. He's just coming through quite difficult turns 7 and 8 here. Very difficult to try and get the apex is Correct for these tight left-handers at turns 9 and 10. Just half throttle as much as he could was the Ferrari around there. Didn't do too badly. There's an Alpine just getting out of the way. That's Woofer, who's just gone past. But Luffy already into the third sector. He crossed the timing beam just before that left-right there at turn 11 and 12. This long right-hander can be difficult to put the power down early if you're not running traction control. Luffy currently in the top 10. He's got a point this season. His teammate Ben's got 80. Very different comparison, of course, between the two drivers, but Luffy has had a bit of bad luck this year. Let's watch him as he comes through the final corner at turn 16. Runs just a little bit over the curb. He gets away with it. DRS open. And he does improve. It's into the 34s for Luffy. It's a 34.5, right behind Spannel in the Alfa Romeo. So that's a good effort from Luffy. Bunch of the drivers in the top 5 who've gone into the pits. The 2 Mercedes, Roby HC, Il Cecco, both in the pits at the moment. Italy Toy TA just coming into the pits. He's also set a quicker lap time as you Italy Toy, just unknown to us really. He's done a 1:32.9, half a tenth practically behind Ben Roberts, who is the man to beat at the moment. He's on incredible form. But there'll be enough time for one last flying lap for the drivers. As Roby HT is the first of the top 5 to go on to an outlap, so he's getting his effort in early so he doesn't hit any traffic. Sachetto is on the back straight, as is Spannel. Sachetto actually just pulling out the way there for Woofer 8, who's just on the brakes at turn 14 through that little kink at 15 and then one final corner. This is a lap for Woofer. Round that final turn 16, DRS flicks open now towards the line. That's a good improvement for Woofer. He gets himself into the top 10 in 8th place. Sachetto, I think, is just going on to a lap, the Alpha Tauri driver. Ty Clown on a lap at the moment. Ty Clown actually on quite a good lap so far. The Haas driver in 12th place. 7 tenths up on his current lap, so it'll put him firmly in the 34s. Deep exit actually out of turn 14 and 15. One last corner to navigate. Let's see what this lap time is going to be from Ty Clown. That's more like it for the Haas team, a 1:33.9, right up there with his teammate Antzar, who's actually, I say, right up with his teammate. Antzar's in the wall at, I think, just coming out of turn 4, so a bit of a good lap for Ty Clown and a bit of an outlap for Antzar. Doesn't look like he's broken anything on the front wing elements. I think he's got away with that. Obviously, Antzar winning the first round of the season at Singapore. He's been looking for another good result since then. Had a few opportunities, but it's not quite gone his way. New Italy Toy TA now out on a lap. On his outlap currently. Ben Roberts coming out of the pits now, so all the drivers getting themselves out on circuit. Luffy could just come out of the pits as well. A couple of the drivers still in the pit lane, Milo Bello being one of them. Jossing, FRV, Ricky both haven't set a lap time. I don't know if they're going to get out either. Seeing where everybody else is. Antzar building up to a lap as he comes into the penultimate corner. Il Cecco spun at turn 8. It's not ideal. But there isn't enough time now for the drivers to set another lap. They've got to set a lap on this lap. One shot left. Oh, and as I say that, Sachetto was a 10th down on his lap and he spins coming through turns 7 and 8. Not ideal. Roby HT goes on to his first flying lap as His teammate has been stealing all the praise this season so far in the Mercedes as Il Checho, but Roby's had the pace at times. He's just had a little bit of bad luck. So let's see how he gets on. He's used quite a lot of ARS already, so I suspect this is his second run on this lap. First sector time, he's actually a second down, so I don't think Roby's going to improve. Unless he's had a particularly terrible second sector, which would cause him to gain all that time back. The top three, though, all going on to laps now, and Roberts has come through the final corner. Italy Toy TA is on a lap, and he's half a 10th up, which would put him in provisionally. Probably he's a 10th up now as he goes across the second sector timing beam. So he's got 1/10 up on Ben Roberts. Joss has matched the Williams in the first sector. Just flicking between the drivers at the moment to see how they're getting on. Ben Roberts is going quicker in the first sector, not by much. Joss is also right in the ballpark. It's going to come down to these last couple of corners. So Italy Toy TA is going to be the first driver of the top three to set a lap time. Is this going to be good enough for pole position? Yes! No! Not quite. I thought it was, but it wasn't there in the end. And the Williams stays in second place. Joss is improving at the moment on this lap. Ben Roberts has matched his time, so it comes down to whether Joss can set a quicker final sector than what he's already done. It's very close between the three cars. The Aston Martin sweeping through the final corner. Oh, he has a little wiggle on the exit. Will that impact his time? No, he goes pole. Joss is on pole for the time being. By less than 200ths of a second. It's a wonderful effort from the Aston Martin. Can Ben Roberts respond in the Ferrari? He comes around that final corner, nice and neat compared to the Aston Martin. Will it be enough on the lap time? Not quite. And it's Joss who takes pole position like he did at Brazil. The Aston Martin has got pole again. Ben Roberts is second. Italy Toy TA is third. That was a great effort from the three drivers, separated by less than a 10th of a second. Roby HT and Il Checho 4th and 5th in the Mercedes. You have Sachetto in 6th place. In the AlphaTauri, his teammate way down in 16th. Tire Clown 7th. Mikey up to 8th. That's a good effort from Mikey. His first qualifying where he's got himself into the top 10 in the Alfa Romeo. His teammate Spanner will be happy with that. Antzar 9th. I think he's just going to get a practice start in his Ant, and Woofer 8 rounds out the top 10. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Viper in the commentary box. How are you doing, Viper? If you can hear us. Can't hear him at the moment, but that's, I'm sure Viper will join in a moment. But looking at it, you know, that's a very close qualifying session. 400ths of a second, less than 400ths of a second between the top three. Spannel in 11th, Luffy 12th, Millobello 13th, Jossing, FRV Ricky, not setting a lap time, but JMB Surreal, I think, retired from the session. So he'll have a bit of work to do. Hopefully we'll have Viper with us in a moment. But yeah, do comment who you think is going to be the winner of the sprint race, of course. Sprint race around here, just 10 laps. So the drivers will have to be very quick and adept at dealing with the strategies. I think I've just heard Viper in the background there. Is that you, Viper?
I think, can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Okay, great. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Weekend League, as of course. A bit late, I decided to hop on, commentate, just to see how, of course, the Weekend League Tier 2 races around here. So, quite excited to be back in the commentary box after, how much? 2, 3, 4 months since I have not been in commentary, so it's going to be a bit of a fresh start for me, but hopefully I will get a bit used to it. But of course, I just am in time to tune in for the race. So yeah, excited to see what will happen at the start course of this race. But yeah, that's hello, I'm Viper. If you haven't heard me, I'm a commentator and also a league racer for this league. And yeah, pretty much that's what I could introduce about me. So got now look at the
Here we
start.
go then. So 5 red lights coming on here at Shanghai. Who's going to get the best start? And the race is live here from Shanghai. Looks like a relatively good start for you, Italy Toy TA. He's trying to move through the middle. Roby HT's on the inside. That's a great start for the Mercedes. Ben Roberts leads the way. It's got Joss in second. Roby's on the inside, but they've kept it clean for now. You Italy Toy's trying to fight back through turn 3, and he has done. He gets his 3rd place back. That was important for the 3 of them. Il Checho makes a move on his teammate. Spannel, what a start from Spannel, from 11th to 6th place. Cracking start. Viper, what are you seeing at the moment?
Wait, so currently we've got Spannel with a great start. He's right now just going out around the outside of Roby HT possibly, but what a start as now Spannel is trying to go for a move round the outside, and that is a commanding move from the Alfa Romeo, and that's a very good move from 11th to 5th, I believe. And yeah, Ben Roberts, what a start from him, 7/10 gap. So now can he manage that in this very challenging circuit? And yeah, let's see what will happen, but of course anything can happen. We've got 10 laps. I believe this is a sprint race.
It is indeed.
Yep, so someone, and that's Milo getting past Luffy. I think he's had a bit of a mistake, I believe, because he's going very, very slow. This allows now Answer to go and possibly go for a move on the Ferrari, so now it's going to be a big slipstream down into turn 14, I believe. I'm not really looked up on the knowledge of the circuit, but anyway, Robbie fights back on Spannel. Spannel gets a nice switchback, and that enables him to try and get the move again. And as you can see now,
Sachetto goes through, yeah, Sachetto going through as well there, so good racecraft from the AlphaTauri. He gets himself into 6th place. The 2 Haas drivers actually, Viper, have had a bad start. They've both fallen 4 and 7 places respectively. Ansar just trying to pull that move on Luffy for 12th place. It should be easy enough done, and he is getting through there. So that's Ansar back up to 12th. Not sure what happened to the 2 Haas drivers. 2nd, of course, in the constructors at the moment, those 2. They need to be trying to fight through the field as best as they can. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Il Checho defending from USA Toy TA. We haven't seen that from our gantry box, but Il Checho, again, another great race already in the opening stages. The Mercedes of Il Checho just has the ability to pull out some good overtaking maneuvers, Viper.
Yeah, exactly true. Still, Ben Roberts leading this Grand Prix with around 7/10 gap, which is quite of a decent gap. Ricky's just behind Mikey here. Mikey with a good, I think he started his debut. I'm not exactly sure, but he's currently doing quite decent in P8. So I believe that's the point boundary for a sprint race. So Mikey's going to try and defend that point, but as you can see, Ricky going absolutely flying in that straight in the Williams, and that aerodynamic power really stands in his side, and now goes down the inside into the hairpin, takes the braking point, easy as you like, and that is the move done. But Ricky goes a bit too deep, but Mikey just slots in behind the gearbox as Ben Roberts says the fastest lap. But as you can see, Jack, as you can see, look, Robbie into turn 1 here.
Yeah, Roby's doing really well. He's looking to the outside line. This is a move that's doable if you're brave enough, but Roby deciding maybe to brake a little bit earlier. He can't quite get up the inside through turn 2, so he'll have to wait for the next lap. There was a lot of also other little battles. Il Checho was defending into turn 14 from the Williams of U Italy Toy, managed to fend him off. And, you know, Roby right up with Sachetto. Mikey's got a lot of ERS left compared to the drivers around him. I think Mikey, quite a strategic driver. He likes us to hold on to that. He'll use it because obviously now DRS is active. So he'll be hoping that he can just stay with this pack and try and gain a couple of points just to add to the 2 he's already got this season. Going a little bit further around the track, you know, Ben Roberts breaks the DRS boundary, although he's right on the limit with Joss at current moment in time. Let's see the line. Yes, Joss is going to be within DRS just about. As he crossed that line, it was less than a second. It now says it's more. Let's see whether the game thinks he's in it or not. Yes, he is. So he gets DRS. U Italy Toy's going to have DRS, but he's got no ERS left, Viper, which I've mentioned it a number of times on the streams before. These drivers just don't understand how important ERS is around the track like this.
Yeah, exactly. This track is quite important for ERS. The ERS usually, as you can see, Utilito trying to go round the outside into the final corner, and as you can see, he has to take off-track action. But now he's going to try and go for a move on the Checho. But as you can see, exactly Jack's point, the ERS just not helping him at all to try and get the overtake. ERS is super crucial, especially in this game, and especially in this situation, if you want to get past Il Checho to get third position for the podium position for this sprint race. But currently, Joss is currently in P2 behind Ben Roberts, doing quite decent at the moment, managing the battery, very similar battery levels, which can pose some interest. But let's see how will Joss take this now. With lap 4 out of 10, 7 more laps. As now, who votes on Ben? I think Ben can win this. I've seen him race. And he's a very good driver. He knows how to defend. He knows how to put that racecraft and pace into work. So yeah, let's see what the top two will bring for us today.
Yeah, those two are obviously very quick at the moment compared to the other drivers. Uitali Toy will be cursing the fact that Il Checho got past him. He'll have a DRS again, will the Williams, but without that ERS, he's going to really struggle to get close enough. He's right in the wheel tracks. I'm watching him here. He is closing the gap, but I think Il Checho is going to move to the left in a moment. Well, maybe not. He's still defending into turn 14. In fact, he got the line all wrong, did the Mercedes. He was watching that wrong line in undercut for you, Italy. Toitier, a little bit of contact between the two. I don't think Il Checho realised where the Williams was. He's going to use ERS as they come towards turn 1. He's going to have enough overspeed to at least challenge as they go for the first corner for the 5th time. But Il Checho looks to go to the inside line this time. He's just alongside. A little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, and again, and that sends Il Checho a little bit sideways. Spaniel looking for a move at the inside, but he's not going to have the run out of the corner that he needs to get alongside him as Ricky moves up to 6th place. I forgot to mention as well before, because that is Sachetto falling down the order. He's gone round, but Ricky pulled a brilliant overtake on Roby around the outside of turn 14, the last lap prior to this one, and he's up 9 places from 15th, so the Williams has got some pace round here.
Yes, as Jossing onto the main straight spins there, so his race is not going to plan. So I think he's not going to be really happy with this result 100%. But as you can see, Joss behind in DRS here, Jack. So this is quite interesting, and this could tell us that Ben maybe might just about get out with this result. But as you can see, Ben is using some battery here, which can make him a bit more vulnerable in the last laps. But currently we have no battles with Ty Clown just behind JMB Surreal here. Can we see a move from the Haas on the Alpha Tauri? And now down the inside, maybe he's going to try and go for a lunge. He does go for the lunge. He does move down the inside, and that's a nice move from the Haas. And can he now manage that position into the final corner and into turn 1? Of course, now DRS will be enabled for the Alpha Tauri, as now he will have the overspeed. The battery is quite a big capacity for the driver, but unfortunately JMBC, I think he's trying to hold back and just charge some of that battery, and then wait as someone has spun, and that is Jossing, I believe, again. So Jossing really struggling with this track, I believe.
Yeah, he's having a bit of a difficult time, is Jossing. Maybe this track not suited to him. He did finish 6th last week in the second race at Brazil. He drove really well, so I'm more inclined to suspect it's a gelling around with the track more than anything. I said at the start of the stream that it's been quite a while for the drivers since they've raced around Shanghai in terms of F1 games. You know, wasn't available in last season's game. So, oh, who's gone off there? Milo Bello, the McLaren, drops to 13th. He's lost it on the exit of turn 8. Oh, and he's done it again. His tyres overheating, and he goes round. Woofer's probably going to get the position off him, and he does. So Milo Bello, who's been the duality of man this season, is Milo, to be fair. He's had some really good results, but equally had some bad ones in that McLaren. He's missing a teammate as well. Wottard isn't here, and he's just struggling to get himself going as Roby HT gets past FRV Ricky for 6th place. It's a yellow flag. It's set to fair. I think it's Miller, but no, it's Jossing who's gone round again. Speaking of Joss, back at the front, Joss in the Aston Martin is now within half a second of that Ferrari.
Yeah, very, very interesting to see. So I think Joss is just putting a bit extra more pace. But as you can see, the battery levels are a bit similar. So I think Joss has just picked up the pace and try and hunt the Ferrari ahead of him down. So it's going to be quite interesting. Some eyes are going to be peeled on the front too. As I can see, there's a massive gap behind with just around a 5-second gap. Jossing spins again on the final corner. Very unfortunate for him, so I think he hates this track 100%. But as you can see, Ricky is going to try and fight back, as you could from Roby, who has can't find my words, but Roby pretty much is just trying to defend this position from himself from 6th, which is going to be a bit of a difficult one with the gap and the battery levels for them pretty much the same, as Joss has got a 9/10 gap. So let's see, Ben Roberts has no battery here.
Yeah, Ben without a battery, and you made that point earlier, Viper, in that Ben Roberts, you know, using the ERS a little bit more down the straights, and you did say as well as Italy, Toitier and Il Cecco swap places, so Italy gets back in front as they do that. Ricky and Roby side by side, but Ricky ended up going flying off the road, and Il Cecco picks up a time penalty. That'll be crucial in the fight for third place. So Italy Toy will be probably a bit more inclined to take it a bit easy and just hold on to the back of the Mercedes if he gets past again. But as I was saying, and as you alluded to before, Viper, for the later stages of the race, Joss has got a third of his ERS available. Ben only has a 10th. And that's going to make a huge difference if Joss can get a little bit closer with DRS in the penultimate laps. All the races that we've had this season, there has been an overtake for the lead in the last 3 laps. And admittedly, this is a sprint race, so it's a little bit shorter. We might not see that, but it's a trend, Viper. It is a trend.
Yeah, it is a trend as Woofers on the final corner, but let's see what will happen, especially it's going to be mind games for the pair of them, but Ben Roberts, I think he's got it under control. We've got 3 more laps left, I should say, of this Grand Prix before the 50% race, 28 or 29 laps around, but as you can see, yeah, but now Ben Roberts is defending, he knows he's under attack. And as you can see, Joss is just gaining a lot of time on this very long straight as the gap is just 5/10. So as now El Cecco, I think he has slowed down a little bit from Utilito. So I think Utilito has overtaken him once again. So great move there from Utilito with the DRS, made it very easy for the Williams driver. Now he's into 3rd place. The driver behind has a penalty, as we've seen a lot of, but could he maybe try and fight back? He is gaining, but he held back. And let's see, what will El Cecco do? Is he going to try and defend that position? But it's going to be very difficult considering that he's got a penalty, and he probably won't make 3 seconds in 2 laps, which is possible, but it's very, very difficult to do. But anyway, all eyes on the penultimate lap on the Grand Prix, and there's 2 drivers fighting for the sprint race crown, and let's see who will become the winner of this sprint race.
Yeah, that fight between Ben and Joss, of course, with 2 laps to go. Joss is still just not quite making enough inroads into Ben Roberts. I've noticed that Ben's been using a little bit more ERS, and Joss is now starting to use his. Those 2 have been very quick all season. They've been very closely matched in pace, but 29 points is the gap between them in the championship. So Joss really, for the psychological gains, really, he needs to try and win this. Using a bit of ERS to Joss coming out of turn 13. And he's got DRS available to him. He is going to close the gap, but he won't be close enough just yet. Watch him on the brakes, down into 2nd gear for the Aston Martin. Gets a very nice line and short shifts into 3rd, but he's just a little bit hesitant on the power compared to Ben, and that'll just allow a little bit of a reprieve for the Ferrari. DRS again, ERS flicks on. Ben goes on to his final lap of the race. He's just not close enough to make that move, so Ben Roberts is almost home.
Yeah, true. But now it's going to be the final lap of this Chinese Grand Prix sprint race. But of course, anything can happen. 4 tenths is the gap, and this is the closest Joss has been to the entire race. And now the ERS is very similar. But as you can see, he nearly tags the rear of the Ferrari. But Ben is seeing the mirrors, the Aston Martin in his mirrors, I should say. But it's going to be very difficult. Is it raining? I thought it was raining for a second. But as you can see, the gap is 6 tenths. So I think Ben Roberts just has more aerodynamic cornering it around sector 2. So now into sector 3. This is the decisive moment here, Jack, to see who will become the winner. And it's down to this corner, as now both drivers need to get it perfect. And as you can see, Joss does get a good corner as well as Ben Roberts. But now onto the straight we go.
Onto the straight, here we go then. DRS open for Joss, he's using all of his ERS, he's got nothing left. The gap is coming down, but he's not going to be close enough to make a lunge at turn 14. Can he get any form of exit that is good enough to challenge? I don't think it is. It's going to come for this last corner. Ben Roberts just needs to really tiptoe through here to take his another win of the season, and he has done. It's Ben Roberts who wins the sprint race here at China. Joss takes second. Uitaly Toitier, he battled hard with Il Checho and he takes third position here for the sprint. Il Checho obviously fourth place. Spanel again continuing on with that really good run of his in the Alfa Romeo, scoring points. He gets them there. Roby sixth, RV Ricky seventh. Ansar pulls himself into the points in the end for race. He gets the last point. Tyre Clan in ninth. Mikey, good result for him in the top 10. He'll be a bit annoyed when he realises that he's not getting points for 10th place in the sprint, but he'll find that out later knowing him. Luffy is 11th with JMB Surreal crossing the line 12th. Mello Bello 13th. Sachetto just coming down the back straight there. He'll be 14th. Woofer 15th and Jossing as well going to finish in last place. Those three had a little bit of a torrid time, but again, this is a good sort of practice session really before the main event in a few minutes time. So that was a good race, Viper.
Yeah, I agree. It was a very good race, and it kind of tells us that Joss and Ben Roberts are in for a very intense fight. ERS is going to be more dependent now. ERS is going to be a crucial element of either winning or losing this race, as ERS is just such an important thing. As now Jossing, it does get a 5-second penalty, but now Woofer is going to cross the line and close the race up, and that is the sprint race. So very good race in my opinion. Good racing and very intense, especially for the last lap, definitely between the top two, as they were fighting against position and also championship points. Every point counts towards the whole thing. But Ben Roberts does take the win, as that is a very good result from the British driver, as now Joss takes second, Utilito takes third, and he completes the sprint race podium with El Checho fourth. Unfortunately, from that penalty, he couldn't really fight back against the Williams driver, with Spanel fifth, still carrying on that great combination of points, with Robbie sixth, Ricky seventh, Anza eighth, Tired Cow ninth, Mikey finishing off the top 10 with Luffy, JMB Surreal, Melo Bello, Sachetto, Woofer, and then Jossing closing out the whole grid.
Yeah, and the first race we've done this season with no retirement. So despite the difficulties that Jossing and Woofer had in tonight's first race, I think it's good for them in terms of the mentality. They know that they can, at least finish the next race. It's a lot more difficult, of course, 28 laps around China. It's always been the case, 56 lap race usually at China. It's always been like that since the first race back in 2004, when there was a big fight between Barrichello and Button, I believe, in the first race. It was back in the day when it was round 14 or 15 of the championship. But now, obviously, in the calendar, Shanghai, obviously race this season in 2023 at Shanghai, but where it would normally be, there's quite a lot of tropical conditions at that time of year in the country. So we will find out whether or not we'll get any rain for tonight's event. It's been a factor in the first two rounds of the season. We know that there's some very good wet drivers out there. Spanner one that comes to mind instantly, but Ben Roberts has proven that he's very good in the wet. He's won 3 races on the trot now. Do you think he'll get a 4th win?
Well, anything can happen. 28 laps. But anyway, as we go, lights out and away we go. Ben does get a good start, just gets a very shocking start, and Utilito gets advantage of position right away. Spanel going absolutely crazy, goes into P4, tries to challenge the Aston Martin of Joss. Is now everyone moving up and down the grid as JMB Cyril comes to the worst, as well as Tide Clown, all from the back. Contact definitely has been made, but now Answer is making immediate effect and goes up into 4th position, and everything seems decent at the moment. Just JB Cyril and Tide Clown coming out worse, but Josic currently P8 from last place, remember, Jack, so this is a great start, but he spins.
Say it as well. Commentator's curse coming in for Jocelyn. That was so unfortunate. I've got to say, one of the biggest movers in the field is Mikey RK13. And you might look at it and think, hang on a minute, he's still in the same place in 10th. He got an awful start, did Mikey. He dropped to 15. And then Tire Clown and JMB Surreal collided mid-corner at turn 2. And he just snuck around the outside and made all of his places back up. So Mikey will be feeling quite chuffed after that first couple of corners. Anzar, though, the man on the move, he started in 8th place. He's up to 4th, and he is now right in the wheel tracks of the Aston Martin of Joss, who's lost a place to Italy Toy TA at the start. Looking at the tyre compounds at the moment, just I'm going to try and flip through. Joss on the hard tyres, so deciding to take a different strategy for this race compared to everybody else on the field. Luffy and Jossing on the softs compared to Joss, and actually just to add to that, JMB Surreal also on the hard tyres. So strategy is going to be vital in this race. Those that are on the mediums will be sort of expecting to go to maybe lap 17 potentially. They can stretch it out that long. We will see whether they can pull that off, as Ricky and Jossing fighting for P14 down at the back of the field. That's a good fight. It's all very clean at the moment, apart from that first couple of corners, Viper.
Yeah, very, very good couple of corners, but as you said, strategy is crucial here. Joss will be slow in the first opening laps. You expect to see I6C answer all over the Aston Martin throughout the left-hander, so very expected. As you can see, the hards will be the slowest compound of tyre at the moment, but later on Joss will start gaining some time, as I believe that is Il Checho. That's Il Checho spinning.
Yeah, Il Checho went round. He's trying to get back on track. He lets JMB Surreal go to the Mercedes. I was literally about to say the Mercedes driver's running 6th and 7th, but that's no longer the case, as Mikey goes way off the road and he gets a little bit of a nudge from the back of Ricky and he drops to 12. So I don't think, not quite certain what happened there, but a lot of chaos in the middle of the pack. Italy Toy TA, though, is already shaping up a bit of an exercise in patience on Ben Roberts. He's waiting for that DRS. But look at his ERS usage, Viper. He's got none left.
In 2 laps, he's already done. He's already done for. Like, Utility has the fastest lap, but thing is, he's got no battery, whereas the rival he's racing against has 60%. I'll question you, Utilito. This is going to be very difficult for you. But anyway, we've got Sachetto getting past Luffy here. Luffy trying to get the move done, but Sachetto gets a little drift into turn 2, and as you can see, not really good for him. Just about on the thread of the top 10 as Ricky gets past, and now can Sachetto maybe go for a move? I think just the tyre temperatures just really are a disadvantage to this circuit as well. Titans do tend to hit a lot, but anyway, let's see what can Utilito do now with no battery. So yeah, Ben is going to be really managing this race now.
Yeah, he's going to have to, and he should be fine to do so with that ERS. I mean, Italy Toy, he's in the top 10, Robert, I say top 2 places at the moment, and he's going to be within DRS range. So all I think Italy just needs to do is to stay within that gap and just hang on to the back of the Ferrari, maybe try and do something a little bit different with the strategy to try and sort of unsettle the Ferrari is the best way of doing it, because we've seen on track a number of times this season Ben Roberts can defend, he can overtake drivers, so if you can't beat him on track you've got to try and do it through strategy. I've got to say Joss is doing a good performance in the opening laps. He's still holding off Anzar, who will be a bit frustrated. Despite moving up 4 places in the Haas, he'll want to get past that Aston Martin. He knows he's quicker on the current compounder tyres that he's on at the minute. It's a yellow flag. I think that's Mikey, who's lost the back end he has coming out of turn 14. So Mikey's good start, or chaotic start I should say, has cost him now as we move on to lap 4. Mello Bello and Luffy and Woofer, 9, 8 and 7 on the... Oh, look at this. Ricky trying to look at the inside. It's a full car fight. Ricky trying to go around the outside. I say 4. Sachetto's right there as well. He's trying to get involved in this. And this is the big fight on track at the moment. 5 cars fighting for 7th place.
Yeah, very interesting. This is what we love to see here in the weekend league. Very good racing and very close between the 5 drivers. As you can see there, I think I was Mello Bello trying to get a move on I think it was Ricky trying to get a move on the McLaren of Mello Bello, but Mello Bello stays in front for now. But it's going to be interesting to see what will happen. Luffy still has those power on the soft tyres, but in 2-3 laps, those tyres are going to be pretty much rock dead. They're going to be on the trash because the soft tyres are one of the worst and China, one of the worst combinations. Of course, this track is a tyre killer, and Mello Bello, I think someone has spun us jossing, but now Mello Bello loses out, I believe, on 2 position or 1 positions. As you can see, Ricky is flying like an airplane there. As you can see, nearly 3 wide into turn 14, but we've got Ricky on the inside, and he takes the position. But as you can see, Woofer got the switchback in, and now he can try and get a good line here. And as you can see, Ricky has to take off-track action, but Ricky does have the DRS. He has the ERS to defend himself against the attack from Woofer. As you can see, Mello Bello trying to go round the outside of Sachetto. Sachetto, last time we've seen him, he had a little spin into turn 3, but manages to keep the car stable and running. But that is some great battling between Luffy, Ricky, and Woofer, Sachetto, and Mello Bello. 5 drivers fighting for the points.
Oh, Woofer got it all wrong going in turn 6. He's just about going to rejoin the track. He's lost the place to Sachetto. I've got to say, Ricky's racecraft was brilliant there. Woofer went deep at turn 12, turn 11 and 12. That left-hander just before you go onto the main straight, left and then the right. And Ricky just positioned his car perfectly, used the DRS to get past Mello Bello as well. So that was really good racecraft, and he's right up the Ferrari's rear wing now at this point. Bear in mind, these guys have been fighting for a couple of laps already in their fight to try and get past Luffy, who's proven this season, Luffy, to be one of those drivers who might not have the overall raw pace compared to those around him, but he does have a great knack for defensive driving. He's going to be, I think, just far enough ahead of Ricky not to have to defend into turn 14, but that might be a different matter as we go on to the next lap. And as you said before, Viper, oh, what a move this is from Ricky. He came from nowhere. Luffy just got it all wrong. On the brakes, ran a little bit deep, and Ricky says, thank you very much for that. See you later. Sachetto's now going to be the one to do that. I've cursed Luffy, sadly for him. Sachetto doesn't have any ERS available, so he can't take advantage of Luffy's little mistake. But that was some great racecraft for Ricky. He's up to 7th, and I'm sure now is 16 seconds behind the race leader of Ben Roberts. Not that he's in that same fight, but that'll be a conscious moment for Ben, because he's going to have to, all the drivers obviously at the front are going to have to think, where are we going to pit? Where are we going to end up at the end of this? And right now, not the best place to be if you were to pit early. If you were, let's say, on the softs as Luffy is, he'll probably come out somewhere where Tired Clown is at the minute.
Yeah, the softs is just not a viable strategy around this circuit. As apologies for my voice crack, but anyway, Luffy now is going to lose dramatic pace, so expect him to get passed by Sachetto, or maybe even worse from Mello Bello and Woofer. Maybe he could go outside the points, but as you can see, Sachetto going for a very, very big move to the inside, and that's a nice move. And now Milo Bella's going to be all over the back of the Ferrari. As you can see, Jackie's all over him into the back straight, and now it's just going to be DRS's straight line speed working here, and who has more ERS? They both have the same amount of ERS. Can Milo Bello maybe stick a very big dive into the inside? He keeps it, but Saccheto picks very early, which does bring Luffy a bit off guard, but manages to keep the car on a straight line. But as you can see, Woofer is all over as well, so everyone is fighting for the position. Ricky has moved a bit, has become a kind of a four-way car fight, but JB Surreal and El Checho, they're both getting involved in this fight for the points positions. But as you can see, Melo Bella out of nowhere go round the outside to the turn 2, and turn 3 does get a bit tangling over turn 2, but manages to stay 10th. But as you can see, Woofer is now involved in there. He was just around a second behind this group of cars, but managed to catch up to the pack. As now, as you can see, JB Cyril has just catched up as well with Il Checho, trying to maybe get an attack before JB Cyril does manage to catch the pack again. So very interesting fight between the pair for the 4 of them. There'll be 6 of them soon, which is very exciting to see. But yeah, great, very great racing from all 4 of them.
Yeah, it's really good to see at the moment. They're all having a great time fighting in the middle of the pack, of course. This is a 50% race, which I think some of them have forgotten about because, you know, whilst they're fighting so hard, look at Milo Bello. This time he's on the inside and he'll get past Luffy before they get out of the exit. And Luffy's tyres are starting to go off, I think, at this point. Woofer will probably be close enough to make a move. Although I've got to say, Luffy has got an incredible car in a straight line. DRS flicks open. Anzar's past Josh. Josh has spun. In 4th place, he's dropped down. Josh, who was on target for an alternative strategy, maybe coming back to it later, loses 2 spots. So Josh now down in 5th position, not ideal for the Aston Martin. Ricky's away, Sacheto's there. I think Woofer's past Luffy whilst we were talking. Il Checho's got past JMB Surreal as well, so he's recovering in the Mercedes. But I was watching Antzar and Josh fighting earlier on. It was just a little moment between the two. And now Josh... Well, looking at the gap between him and Ben Roberts is 13 seconds, and I don't think, unless we have a stoppage of some form, that Josh is going to be able to get back onto the race victory here.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult from now on from Josh. Josh needs to start pushing. If I was him, I would start pushing those hard tyres to the limit, but not as to the limit as I would say, because of course you don't want to get those hard tyres into low grip conditions. Yeah, the softs are over. Yeah, exactly. Gavra is saying the truth. Luffy is just, as you can see, going on board. He's just struggling all over the place, and speaking of him, he spins. So yeah, he's got a pit now. Otherwise, he probably will get a puncture, which will probably force him to retire. But I would pit ASAP if I was him. But the gap at the front. After all of this chaos has been happening, the gap has been kind of between the 4 of them has kind of a split. So the four drivers have kind of gone back, but Saccheto has actually gained the gap back on Ricky, and now they're fighting for 7th position. So great pace here from Saccheto, but Saccheto, as you can see, he has no pace. I mean ERS, I should say. But let's see, it's going to be an exciting fight, I think. But speaking of the lead, Utilito and Ben Roberts almost just the gap just fluctuating. 1.3, 1.4 seconds. Someone has spun into the left-hander, Jossing.
Yeah. Jossing's gone off, and that's a good point actually. Utilito and Ben Roberts, they're just sort of the gap quite stagnant at the moment. They're about 1.3 together, and Utility will be quite happy with that if he can just stay there. You know, he might decide to do the undercut. It's quite powerful around this track as well, so Utility will be thinking about that, whether he can pull it off. Antzar and Spanel running in 3rd and 4th. Joss is 5th. Coming back to the point you mentioned actually about Ricky and Saccheto. Saccheto catching Ricky, but Ricky's also catching Roby HT in 6th. So Saccheto will be thinking, I can get the pair of them at this point because he is flying. Woofer within a second of Milo Bello, and JMB Surreal within just outside of a second now of Il Checho, and you'd expect Ilchecho with his speed, because he obviously scored a a good 4th place in the last sprint.
Suchetto.
Oh, Sacheto's gone. Good catch, Viper. Over to you.
Yeah, apologies for stepping in there, but of course, very unfortunate for Suchetto. He was on the back of Ricky, I believe. But just looking at the chat, well, yeah, Joss did spin, I believe, exiting the hairpin, in sector 3. I believe he's just dropped it. But as you can see, look at Spanel. He's I think Joss got past Spanel as we were speaking. So Joss and Spanel a bit quiet over here. But anyway, Spanel now down to P5. So I think the crossover between the hards and the mediums are going to be a bit interesting. Let's see what happens. But hello, Isaac Smart. Good evening. As Ben Roberts' teammate. So every time they sign up, you expect to see both of them as teammates. So and I also saw that he will be back with him soon. But hello, Pushadino as well.
Just watching Milo Bello and Sachetto have spun at the same time. I don't know if they've made contact, but they both went off the track. And Milo Bello's in the wall again. The driver's just sort of struggling with when the drivers spin, the tires obviously heat up, and they're just struggling to get the temperatures cooled down. They've both spun. So Mikey's the big beneficiary of that. He's now up to 11th. He's one spot outside the points, and if he were to come away with points, I know I'm good friends with Mikey. He'd be chuffed with a point. Oh, as I say that, he has a little wiggle going through turn 8, so maybe I'll cut away from him. Commentator and friend curse if I did that. But Ricky's right on the back of Roby. Roby hasn't. Well, he's not using any ERS, whereas Ricky is. He'll have the DRS open, and that should be an easy move for the Williams. Although, having said that, he's still finding it quite tricky to get past. Only now is Ricky alongside the Mercedes, and that is a nice clean move into turn 14. The Haas of Tired Clown and Milo Bello have gone round again, so nightmare for those two. And Roby in the pits.
Very early. Very early.
Not
very early.
3
yeah,
laps early.
true.
Medium to hards would probably be or hard to medium, depending on what tyre you started. It's probably the ideal rate, and that's about 3 laps too early. But maybe Roby thinks he can pull off a tyre strategy where others cannot, as Ilchecho just alongside Woofer going through turn 3. This is going to have the right line to get the exit, and that's a good move from Ilchecho up to 7th, and he's on his recovery drive.
Yeah, true. And speaking of Joss, the gap is around 13 seconds still, so Joss could slowly start gaining on Answer here, who's currently in P3. But now, as you can see, Woofer's all over the back of Ilchecho here, so Ilchecho put in a bit of a recovery drive, I think you just said in the past. But anyway, but yeah, great drive from Ilchecho at the moment after spinning at the start of the Grand Prix, so great to see some great driving. But as you've been speaking, Jack, someone in the top 2 has made a bit of a big mistake and has gone around 2 seconds behind now. So into the main straight, I've seen Utilito have a big wiggle and manage to keep the car on a straight line somehow. And that's how the gap went from around 1.2, 1.3 to 2 seconds. But Utilito is slowly starting to reduce the gap again. So could we see maybe Utilito being a DRS again? No clue. But Ben Roberts is charging his ERS with 24% in the Ferrari.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of one of the Williamses, Ricky's just bolted into the pit lane, so he's responding to the undercut that would be happening by Roby HC. I still think that's a little bit early, but maybe the drivers have got more accurate information on their displays. I think Italy, Tal, just coming back to that at the moment, Viper, he's in second place. He's 1.8, 1.9. The gap's around there. It doesn't matter if the gap gets too large. I'd say anything underneath 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. He's still got a very good chance of the undercut, but he's got to make sure he doesn't make any more mistakes. And it just seems that Ben Roberts has a really good package in the second sector. He seems very quick through those sequence of corners, and that's where the gap grows a little bit and then reduces again on the straights, because Italy definitely has a very quick car on a straight line, and you can see that time gap is just reducing every time they go over one of the little mini sectors.
Yeah, true, but as you can see, grid's kind of spaced out. No fights going on at the moment. So the closest is FRV, Ricky, and Roby. So they could
And
be
Ricky,
maybe.
Ben's in the pits, and both of them are in the pits. The front two, sorry to cut into you there, Viper, but both of the two drivers in the lead deciding to go onto the medium compound tyres. This is a lap or two earlier than the base predictions, but there we are. So that puts Antzar in the lead of a race for the first time in a few rounds. So we'll be happy with that. Josh moves up to second. Where are the Ferrari and the Williams going to come out? Where is Spannel? He's in the pits. Is Ilcecco going to be closer? I don't think he's going to be anywhere near them, in fact. So Ben Roberts at Italy, despite the slightly early pit stop, have got track position and they don't have to worry about anybody else interrupting their fight.
Yes, this is great for both of them. So you could maybe see a bit of more interest because, of course, they're very on the freezing cold, hard tires. So expect to see some slides from both of the drivers at the moment. But Joss is gaining.
As you say that, you just mentioned about not making a mistake, and that's exactly what Italy did. He just lit the rear tyres up. He got away with it. But that gap was 1.6. It's down to 2 in this round.
And Roberts is lagged out as well.
What is happening? In the space of 10 seconds, Italy's half spun and Ben's left the session. So this is blown the race wide open. Antzar will be looking at it. Well, he'll probably know about Ben. He won't know about Italy spinning, but he'll be thinking, "What can I do? Can I catch these guys now?" Oh, he's reached Ben. Just as I say that, he might get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. Answer now, and as you can see, Joss has been gaining. The gap has been around, what, 3 seconds, and now it's 2 seconds. Answer does go into the pits, though, as he goes a bit too deep. He does a Hamilton, kind of back in 2007, where, of course, Hamilton could have won the championship back at the time. But anyway, Answer into the pits. This is very important. Ben Roberts is there, and is he still under AI control?
I think he's back in control. Yeah, he is.
So very temporary control, AI control there for Ben Roberts. So too bad for him. But look, the gap, 6 seconds, and Answer currently around 7 seconds behind. So it's going to be around a 5-second gap between them. So it's kind of blowed a possible second position up for Answer, maybe, if Utility does make any more of those mistakes. But Ben Roberts now has a commanding lead, and Joss leads this race as we speak, about from 8 seconds. So now Joss is going to try and last those hard tyres as long as possible and get the mediums on, and he'll be like an absolute fireman in the Aston Martin. But what's happening? So basically, Ben Roberts disconnected, and at the same time, Utilito spun. So the top two, provisional top two, have spun at the same time. Spun and lagged out at the same time.
Oh, Italy has done it again. He's had another little wobble out of the gun. He's not liking these hard compound tyres. If he and that's the thing, Viper. If he hadn't have made that mistake when Ben disconnected, it was only brief, but he was in the middle sector, and that's where Ben was strong. He could have got within DRS, maybe even past the Ferrari. So Italy will be kicking himself for that, but he's just got to keep it in a straight line now, because if he keeps making those errors, Joss, who's still on the hard tyres, is 16 seconds clear, still to pit, of course. But when he does pit, he'll come out, I'd say, roughly where Antzar is, and 5 seconds on the medium tyres with 10 laps to go is not impossible.
Exactly, as now Answer gets past Woofer, as Woofer goes into the pits here. So quite a late pit stop, I think, for Woofer, but Woofer's definitely gonna get into the end of the race on those, all those on soft tyres. Look at that.
Those aren't going to last, not a chance. So Woofer evidently hoping for a safety car, maybe doing a two-stop strategy. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe maybe Otmar and the team at Alpine have got a bit of an idea what to do. So let's see how that strategy works out. At the moment, I'm suspicious of whether that will work, but who knows? A safety car might just pull Woofer back into the race. We'll yet to find out. He's the only driver, of course, on a different compound compared to everybody else. Just looking at the closest fights on track though at the moment, not really in terms of hard fighting, but Tyre Clown and Mikius, separated by about a second at the moment, so they're quite close. Whether Mikey can get within DRS, he should be able to, because Tyre Clown's got 12-lap-old tyre compared to the Alfa Romeo, who's only just pitted.
Yeah, exactly. So interested to see what Woofer can do on those soft tyres. Of course, he'll be gaining a massive chunk amount, but just pits.
Aston Martin race leader into the pit lane. Ben Roberts is fly by, rather, not fly by, that's very different. But just goes into the pits, as you say, Viper. Italy is going to go past him. The Aston Martin team is servicing the car now. Italy goes past GMB Surreal, who's having a very good stint on the hard tyres. He's yet to pit, of course, but he moves up to third. Will Josh get out in front of Ansar? It's going to be close. Oh, it was very close, but Ansar just beats the Aston Martin out. So Josh now is 6 seconds back from JMB Surreal, who's still got a pit. So the fight for the podium, Josh will be feeling very confident about this now, Viper.
Yeah, so Josh has the pace now on those medium tyres. He's got the advantage over all the top 4 drivers, excluding JMB Cyril. So Josh can get a very good result here if he can just keep it on the track. Ben Roberts currently still leading this Grand Prix comfortably by 9 seconds. Utilito just losing a big amount of pace at the moment. JB Cyril, I think he's made a mistake, or he's just going to the left-hand side there for a temporary moment. But Ansar is going to be very, very defensive here. As you can see, Josh has got 60% here, Jack, which you can use a small amount on the house driver.
He is indeed, so he's using all of his ERS. DRS opens now. He's going to be an absolute train in a straight line. Ansar's got nothing to do with this. Here comes Josh. No answer from the Haas, surely. On the inside, fresh set of boots. No problem for the Aston Martin. Ansar trying to fight back, but realistically, that's not a fight he needs to be involved in. He'll have to just try and settle into a rhythm and hope there's a mistake as JMB Surreal finally pits on the hard tyres. Good stint for him. Ansar within DRS range of Josh, but Josh just wise to it, clicks the ERS open, and he cracks on with what he does. Meanwhile, the AlphaTauri Sachetto has gone round. Where's JMB Surreal going to come out though in the pits?
Probably going to come out. Woofer, maybe Moofer might just get ahead of him. So let's see.
Close. Woofer's going to have to try and go the long way. He's got the overspeed, but he's not quite there. He's still trying, but he's not going to get past.
No, I think, yeah, JMB Surreal's got it covered for the moment, but of course, JMB Surreal with those freezing cold tyres. And Jack, I've been seeing this. It's kind of cloudy. At the start of the race, where you've been saying this, the circuit can pose some extreme weather. Can we see a rain, soaked race at the end? Very interesting to see.
Potentially, and maybe that's what we didn't know about. Maybe that's why Woofer's decided to go the softs and hope that it rains a little bit earlier. I hadn't considered that, but you're spot on, Viper. Well noted with the clouds overhead. As I say, I was just watching Woofer have a little wobble on his soft compound there, but that could just throw a little spanner in the works for the drivers. Speaking of Spannel, he's in 5th at the moment, but the rest of the drivers, whether they factored that into their strategies, whether it'll rain enough at the end of the race as well is a big deal. If it starts torrential with 3 laps to go, is anyone going to be brave enough? As Josh sets the fastest lap of the race, and he is catching Italy. He is flying. It's down to less than 6 seconds, the gap.
Yeah, as now Josh has set the fastest lap. So, speaking of Josh's pace, it is amazing for him. So now he's just got to try and gain that gap. He's got around 11 laps remaining. He's got 5 seconds to Utilito. But now can Josh go back up to P2, where he originally started? So if he can do that, then that will be a very, very good position for him. As now he'll try and go for damage limitation. Yeah, Ben absolutely amazing this time round. He's winning the sprint race. Has got around nearly a 10-second gap. Probably by the end of this lap he'll get maybe a 10-second gap. And yeah, Ben just doing an amazing race at the moment. Mikey gets a 3-second time penalty, the third driver have a penalty against the name. But now, as you can see, a 10-second gap. So Ben Roberts just dominating the streets, not the streets, the circuit of China.
Yeah, he's having a great time at the moment. There is now a fight though opening up at long last on track, which is great to see. Spanel has been closed down by Ricky and the recovering Mercedes of Il Cecco for 5th position. Spanel he'll be conscious of the drivers behind. He'll know what he's got to do to defend, of course, but I've been quite impressed with Ricky. He's had a bit of a torrid time in the opening few rounds this season, but he's really put in a good shift in the opening race in the sprint before, and now this one as well. So whether he can get a top 5, and if he does, it'd be his best result of the season. So DRS Open, he's not close enough on this lap. He won't be able to make a move, but he will be as Milo Bello leaves the session, and I think that is a retirement for Milo. I think that's done for him because he's very far away from the Ferrari of Luffy. So that's a shame, but Milo Bello will just have to bounce back for the next race.
Yep, true, but Jocelyn gets a 3-second time penalty, so he does get another penalty. The gap is 4.6 seconds. Last lap, the gap was around 5 seconds, so Joss at the moment is gaining around a second a lap as it stands. So if he just can keep this pace, he will catch Utilito in no time. But as you can see, that fight we've been seeing El Checho all over the back of Ricky here. Ricky goes a bit wide. As you can see, the lights flashing between both of the drivers now. It's going to be a drag race down into turn 14 here at Shanghai. So now through this very twisty right-hander, but now gets the power down, and now it's just going to be aerodynamic speed on the straight. And now can Il Checho maybe go for a very big dive on Ricky? Ricky does defend though, however, with a very, very good Williams in terms of aerodynamic speed. So I think that car is quite decent on a straight line. Il Checho just cannot cope with that, but Ricky does go a bit wide though on the exit, which can open up an opportunity. Robbie and JB Cyril are fighting meanwhile, as you can see, JB Cyril does get a decent exit, but of course nobody in front of JB Cyril, which does make him very vulnerable, and the ERS is off. JB Cyril go into the middle, try and defend the position P8 at the moment, so that is 4 points under contention between the both of them. But JB Cyril does have a bit of a wiggle there, as if you saw Jack, as a bit of a wiggle. JB Cyril struggling a little bit at the start of his stint, but as you can see, JB Cyril is managing those tyres very nicely though, as Joss has gained another second. As you can see, he's going absolutely insane. But now it could be the main point in around 2 or 3 laps. He will be probably on Utilito's rear wing, so probably Utilito will be wary of that, as Ben Roberts just running away with the win at the moment. He's just got to keep it under control, and he will have his 4th win of the season, I believe.
He will do. Il Checho's on the bounce though. Ricky with an incredible straight line speed. They've both, of course, got DRS available. Il Checho on the outside, down into turn 14. He's on the right line, but he runs a little bit out wide, and Ricky will just try and do his utmost. He's got to try and defend and attack as the Williams, because Spanel is, still within DRS range, but Spanel will be breathing a sigh of relief with these two fighting, because he doesn't have to worry. And he's also should, if he can, try and save a little bit of ERS, if the Alfa Romeo can do that. We'll soon find out how he gets on in that sort of quest that he's got to do. Just looking through the fields, obviously Joss is one that we're just watching at the moment in terms of the gap, because he's closing about a second a lap, and he's been on those medium tyres for 5 laps now as the Aston Martin driver, and he just needs to keep this pace up, but be conscious in the next 2 or 3 laps that raw speed will go from the medium tyres, and he'll be at the same point pretty much as the hard tyres of the Williams. So Joss has got to keep pushing, but be aware of what could happen. Tyre Clown, I think, is trying to do his absolute best of getting his hard tyres to the end of the race. He's done 18 laps on the hard compound tyres. Mikey's just behind him, about a second and a half. Gap's only, well, in terms of lap time, it's about laps used on the tyres, it's 10 laps. So Mikey's got to try and fight his way through, and Woofer is still hanging on to those softs. And if this rain does come, it's not coming at the rate that Woofer would have hoped for it to have done. So Il Checho, by the way, back up the inside of Ricky in the Williams. Can he make this move stick this time? He breaks a little bit later. He goes to the inside. They're leaning on one another. Again, Ricky holds him off. Just about. Ricky doing his best to try and hold on to what would be the best result of the season for that Williams car. Obviously, Italy Toys holding on to second, his teammate. Il Checho again in with the DRS, but he's just not close enough. Where is this race going to end up?
It's going to be a very exciting one between the front three, not the front three, for 5th, 6th and 7th. It's going to be a good fight between them. As we speak, Joss is around 1.8 seconds behind here, so Joss, his tyres will slowly start going downwards, but it seems to be going all good for Joss at the moment. He's around 1.8 seconds behind the Williams driver. Now let's turn our faces onto the Battle of Il Checho with as Woofer all over the back of Roby here with those soft tyres still.
Yeah, they've been quite close for a few laps, those two. But for those two, the problem that they have, well, for the problem that Woofer has anyway, is that he's on 7 soft tyres. And as we saw with Luffy earlier on when he had the softs, they lasted about 8 before they were properly done. So, unfortunately for Woofer, he's going to have to pit, and he's going to end up down in 13th, sadly, for the Alpine. But it was worth an attempt. You know, if he thought that the rain was going to come, maybe it'd have paid off for him, but it doesn't look like it's going to come in time for him. With 5 to go, Il Checho's trying to go around the outside of Ricky again. They just can't get past the Williams car, can Il Checho. He's still stuck behind him. Ricky's a lot closer to Spannel this time around. 3.5 tenths is the gap as they approach turn 1. But again, Ricky's just not going to be close enough to the back of the Alfa Romeo Sauber. See if he does anything any closer. Not quite. He tries to look at a little different line for turn 3, but not really going to work. Josh, though, there he is. He can see, and there's the rain. Yep. There is the rain. Just as I was about to say, you can see the back of the Williams. Is the rain going to come down and ruin his DRS fun?
And now this has opened up an opportunity, especially for Utilito, as of course the change of compound tyres, if it's going to happen, as now Joss is in the DRS here, Jack. Now this is going to be a big fight. It could end on the straight. Potentially, as you can see, he's already just gaining a big amount, but he's got to make this move done ASAP because Utilito will have some extra pace because the compound is very different between them. As you can see, Joss trying to scare off Utilito. He seems to work quite a good treat. He's gained a good chunk of time. DRS is disabled, so that means they're going into the pit, and all Utilito he has spun the pit lane.
The Williams.
Oh my word.
Wow. Somehow the game actually reset him before he hit the wall. So he's been saved really with that. Those two gambling that it's going to be wet enough. Ansar bails into the pits. What does Spannel do? He goes into the pits. So everybody deciding this is the lap to do it. Will Ben Roberts lose out? He does have a... Oh, Ricky nearly firing into the wall as Il Checho actually finally gets past the Williams. He'll be chuffed with that. But the track is visibly wet. You could see it on the cameras at the moment. Josh is out on the intermediate tyres. Where is Ben Roberts? He is... Oh, Ben Roberts is so slow. He is tiptoeing through turn 9 and 10. The rain came just at the right time for Joss and Italy.
Luffy has spun into the back straight. His teammate leading this Grand Prix. He is crawling through the final sector there. As you can see, he's got to go so slow, and it just had one lap, and it's already rain conditions. It just shows how very quick the rain can arrive in such a late time of the race. It's opened up a lot of interest on overtakes potentially. As
He's
now,
so slow, is Ben Roberts. He can't put the power down. And watch him. He's just about going to make it to the pit lane. Is he going to get caught out by Luffy? Because Luffy's coming into the pits as teammates. He doesn't want to have to double. I think Ferrari have to double stack here. I don't think Josh is going to be close enough. I'm watching the time gap. Obviously, Viper, you watch Ben stop. I'm watching Josh at the moment in second. He's coming towards turn 14 on the brakes. I think Ben's going to be all right, but the gap will be a lot. Oh, big snap of oversteer for the Aston Martin coming out of turn 14. Ben now coming down the pitch straight. He should be fine. In fact, he is. He's going to be quite comfortable in the end. But that is just again, this is a telltale sign, isn't it? Really, that the track conditions can change at any point. And Ben Roberts was over 10 seconds clear of Joss, and that gap is 4 seconds. Ben's incredible on the intermediate, so he should get up to speed quite quickly. But the man who'll be the happiest of the lot will be the man who gambled on the soft tyres. Woofer has benefited, and that decision has put him in the points.
Oh, I think that strategy from Woofer was pinpoint. Very, very good strategy, as Justin gets another penalty. JMB Cyril as well. So some drivers getting penalties for track limit violation around this circuit. So currently we've got Joss around 3.9 seconds, and I think Ben's just got it under control here. As Gavra said, that he is a master of the wet conditions, so it kind of shows that Ben might take this home as a Grand Prix win again for the 4th time, which is just absolutely amazing from the British driver.
4 times in a row. So, you know, Ben, he did actually win the first round of the season. So he just had second round of the season at Singapore. No, yes, he did. So, and that was with a move on like the last lap for Ben. So he'll be thinking that the championship, he'll have one hand on the trophy. Only 2 more races, of course, after China, which will be coming to in the next week. In the next 2 weeks, the championship will be done. Closest fight on track at the moment, you're looking at Il Checho and Spanel. Il Checho was very quick in the intermediate conditions in Brazil, and he moves past Spanel for 5th position. But Spanel again taking. But I'll tell you what, Spanel deciding, no, I'm not having any of that Mercedes driver, straight back through. Spanel really doesn't want to give this up, and fair play to him. He's given a right battle with the Mercedes driver, and so he should, because there's only 3 laps to go, and he'll want those extra 2 points.
Yeah, exactly. So Spanel defending the whole, defending for his life from Il Checho, really quick, as you can see, just pushing the Alfa Romeo all round turns 1, 2, 3, and turns 1, 2, and 3. So as you can see, Ben Roberts just parrying the car throughout the circuit, as now Il Checho is around 6/10 behind. So this is probably going to be this is still going to be a fight. Spanel,
yeah,
big rear, big amount of oversteer from the Alfa Romeo driver. This is going to open up an opportunity for Il Checho to fight back, but Spanel's got battery, remember, whereas you've got Il Checho, who has 17% battery capacity. Pierre, currently it's only the weekend league. Gavra said, of course, there will be more leagues, maybe a return of the Super League, the Premier Series, the Freshman, and also the Academy as well. But anyway, we've got a big fight in front of our eyes with Il Checho going to the inside, nice little switchback, and now, as you can see, very big fight between them, as Spanel does manage to go ahead. I think Spanel's just, the traction is just amazing for him.
He's got a really good setup as Spanel. I've noticed this all the time I've watched Spanel in the last 2 seasons, last season as well. He seems to have this knack in the intermediate conditions to just put his car exactly where it needs to be. He has a couple of wobbles every now and then, but you'd expect that from a driver who's very good in these wet weather conditions. And Il Checho's going to find this task of getting past the Alfa Romeo in the last 2 laps to be exceptionally difficult. Looking back through the field, there's a fight for 11th place with Tyler Clown, Sachetto and Mikey. But as I say that, Sachetto gets his all wrong out of turn 14, spins up the rears, loses that spot to Mikey. So that fight is done and dusted. So I'm going to concentrate on this next lap, the remainder of this lap before we go on to the final one. Would you believe it? We're almost at the end. Il Cecco is the man to watch, and whether he can get past Spanner. What do you think, Viper? Do you reckon he's going to get past?
He is very close, but the battery levels are just very, very different compared to each other. But Il Cecco has the pace, the raw pace to try and push past Spaniel here. So let's see what can Spaniel do into turn 13. As you can see, Spaniel having a bit of a slide, and now it's just all about placing the power as soon as possible. And as you can see, Spaniel gets a bit leery on the back end, so Spaniel really struggling, especially in that corner. But now, as you can see, Il Cecco is very close. But Spaniel has used a bit of battery. But now, will Il Cecco get a big dive? He does dive it, and as you can see, Spaniel gets a good exit, as I probably will predict. And there we go. He flies past. But now Ben Roberts starts the final lap of this Grand Prix now for the last lap as well. We've got Sachetto, Mikey and Tycon fighting for P11 here as well. So we've got 2 fights to have our eyes looking at as now we're on the final lap.
Yeah, final lap. Ben Roberts on his way to a 4th win in the row, and he's been absolutely brilliant as the Ferrari driver, as again, and putting a hand on that championship title, which would be his first. But whether he can see it off in the next 2 races, we'll soon find out, of course, in the next 2 weeks. Just looking to see, well, I don't think Il Cecco is close enough. It seems that Il Cecco just has the speed in the middle sector. He's got a little bit more downforce compared to Spaniel, but look at the traction that the Alfa Romeo has. It's absolutely brilliant. Mikey has got past Tyre Clown, as has Sachetto for that matter, for 11th. Mikey, though, with that 3-second penalty, so it might come back to bite him, unfortunately, but it's been a much better display for Mikey this weekend, which is good for him. It's a confidence booster. But here comes Ben Roberts in the final couple of corners. He takes it nice and steady through turn 14. He doesn't have to even think about really putting the throttle down fully at this point. He's got a nice gap to Joss. Round this final corner, the yellow helmet car of Ben Roberts, 44, takes another win in a row here at China. Victory for the Ferrari. Joss is going to finish 2nd. Italy Toy, a good fight at the start of the race for the lead, but he didn't get there in the end. Ansar 4th, but this is the fight. Spaniel versus Il Cecco. Il Cecco looking for a way around the outside this time. Spaniel does his best to block the inside, but he's got a little bit of better traction, and the ERS, the Alfa Romeo's got 1 corner to hold on. He should just about make it, and he does indeed. Holds on to 5th. Il Cecco 6th. Ricky in the end, that spin in the pit lane cost him in the fight for 5th, but he did have a good one in the end. JMB Surreal and Woofer, they're going to be 8th and 9th, although I think Woofer's going to lose it because of a time penalty. So hopefully the race director is watching Mikey and Sachetto for 11th. Sachetto moves to the inside line. Mikey will just want this position. Here he goes. Mikey to the outside. You're going to go side by side through turn 14. Sachetto brakes so late. Mikey's on the AstroTurf. He gets it all on the curb. He's going to lose a bit of traction in the end. He'll be a bit annoyed at that, but at the end of the day, he had to try. So Woofer ends up 10th after his penalty. Roby takes that 9th. Sachetto 11th. Mikey 12th. And Tyre Clown rounds out the finishes. Woo!
Wow. That was a very, very, very amazing race, from especially the the change from dry to wet conditions, as it was an amazing race from Ben Roberts. He takes the win for the 4th time this season, just an absolute monster. And of course he probably will win the race next week. Never know. You never know what can happen, but anyway, let's quickly just run through the drivers' standings. They'll be released in a couple of days after this after everything has been done. But Ben Roberts takes the win for the 4th time, which is just an amazing achievement for him. 4 out of 6 races. Not sure how much pole positions he has, but Fun fact, he does hold the most amount of Gavra Racing wins in the weekend league ever, so he definitely will extend that in this season. But Ben Roberts takes first with Joss taking P2, Utilito taking third, Spanel fourth, Il Checho taking fifth. After that spin, he managed to fight back with Answer taking sixth. After that very good result. There we have Ricky with a very good race as well. Seventh, he had a very poor start to this season, but he managed to fight back and get seventh. So points for him in the sprint and in the race. Roadby taking eighth position, 5 points in total. JB Cyril takes ninth, manages to take a very good result and takes ninth, so 4 points for him. And then we've got Woofer in 10th. Sachetto, Ty Clown, Mikey, Luffy, Milo Bello, and then Jossing close out the whole grid. And that was an amazing race from start to finish. It entertained us, especially the four-way fight. I definitely can't wait to see what will happen for Weekend League Tier 1. I will be driving as well, Jack, so definitely expect me to be doing good, hopefully. Last time there was a China social race actually, and I did win it, just about. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching this amazing Weekend League Tier 2 lot. Very good. It's been me, Zexify, or Viper if you want to call me, and you've got Jackie who's gonna bring us to a close.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Viper. So, of course, Gavra Racing returns next week for technically round 4, races 7 and 8 at the Japanese Grand Prix around Suzuka. And I'm sure that Ben Roberts will be looking to try and cement that title in those remaining 2 races. But we'll soon find out. We can't predict everything just yet. Thank you, Viper, of course, joining us in the commentary box. It's good to have you, and I'm hoping that you have a good race in the Tier 1 Weekend League, which will start at 8 o'clock. For British Standard Time, so do check that out if you're interested in the streams. Do comment and follow us on Twitch here at Gavra Racing as well on YouTube. Do subscribe. You'll be in for some more exciting action later on for, again, the sprint race and the feature race, which is 50% at the Beijing circuit. But it's bye from all of us at Gavra Racing, and wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one. See you next week.
Thank you everyone, goodbye.